Good afternoon and good morning to everybody out there. Thanks for joining us today for our latest Sedaru Live webinar. Today we're going to be focused around collection system, sewer collection system maintenance, and talking about hotspots and how to manage those, how to reduce those, and kind of like most things within a sewer collection system. There's a lot of interrelated pieces that we're going to kind of hit on and talk about how you can use some of these software tools to better manage things. We've got a good group of folks here with us today. So for those of you that are new to the Sedaru webinars, we use this Zoom interface for doing the webinars. You'll notice a Q&A button in there. That Q&A button is your spot to be able to ask questions. We like these webinars to be as interactive as possible. We want people to get as much information as possible out of them. And so fire away with the questions as we're going through things. We're going to keep the content here probably to just about 20 minutes today. We're going to keep this kind of brief, but want to, again, make sure you get as much time as you can out of this. So or get as much information in the short amount of time we have together. So, like I said, today we're going to talk about collection system maintenance. Couple of things heading into this, though, a little bit. If you're not following us on social media, take a moment, do that. Look for us on LinkedIn, look for us on Facebook or Twitter, or whatever your social media of choice is. Follow us on those platforms, and you get lots of additional information from us, lots of other updates, and just kind of cool stuff that we have going on and various things in the industry. Excuse me. We talk a lot about this idea of drops, and this is that stepwise approach to how you're gonna be able to implement technology at your utility. And you'll see as we get into talking about the collection system maintenance, there's a lot of data involved. And when you're trying to bring all this data together and use that to make smarter decisions, you really do have to kind of think from a kind of stepwise practical methodology to be able to get these things implemented really well, and to be able to use that information as quickly and as easily as possible. And Drops is our platform to do that. So we're going to talk a lot today on kind of the D, R, and O piece of Drops, right? We're going to think about how we're collecting data digitally and using it in real time, and then using that to kind of optimize our decision making and our approach to a lot of the things that we're doing. I think it's especially interesting too when we think about collection systems. We think about how our world's changed in the last month or two here with with sort of the broad shifts in the economy due to COVID-19, and how that's also changed kind of usage patterns within our systems. So we're seeing a lot of the hydraulics and flows within sewer collection systems are just doing things that we never typically see before. Certainly not for this kind of sustained period of time. The other really interesting piece of this is many folks, what I see from the municipal space is that there's a pretty broad shift on a lot of capital expenditures kind of coming up. A lot of folks are opting to defer a lot of their capital project work and really kind of shift focus on an operational side and maybe push off some of these capital projects for a year. And some of the funding mechanisms that they're using for capital projects, just aren't as viable as what was planned. And so what's interesting there is all of those capital projects and all that capital project work is all things that existed for a reason, right? They weren't sort of dreamed up projects. They're things that that you were planning on being able to do and had good thought and process behind them. And so you need to think about how you're going to still run your operations effectively, minus some of these capital projects, right? And so it's more important than ever that you're going to operationally run your sewer collection system smarter and better. Here's the other thing I think that's pretty interesting, and having some conversations with folks throughout the industry over the last month and weeks, is you also have a lot of your engineering staff whose time and energy has been devoted and dedicated to coming up and figuring out how to execute a lot of capital plans. And that work's been, in a lot of places, been largely completed, right? They have a lot of the design work, they have the priorities figured out, and then some of that stuff's been put on hold, right? And kind of just deferred for another year. So now you've got engineering staff that in many cases at some cities are looking for some new projects, looking for things to do, and being able to turn them loose on some of your collection system operational problems, I think is going to be a really good use of their time and a lot of things to add there. So kind of keep that in mind as we're talking about some of these pieces. The other thing I'll mention is we've got another webinar coming up on Thursday that is actually all focused on risk-based capital planning. And so we're going to talk about collection systems there. We're going to talk about water systems as well too. But they're the idea of thinking about prioritizing pipe replacement. And certainly if you're seeing cuts in your capital budget, you're still going to have pipe that's going to need to be replaced. You're still going to need to have pipe that's going to be repaired. And that webinar is going to be focused around how do you make some of those decisions, right? And how do you, from a cost side of things, make that work, et cetera. So pretty excited about that webinar on Thursday and how some of that's going to tie into the things that we're doing here. So. All right, let's jump into things. So collection system maintenance, thinking about hotspots, and what you do here is really all going to start with how well do I document and use my existing system, right? What level of detail do I have available to me, and what am I tracking on things? So what you're looking at here on screen is the Sedaru Omni interface, right? And Sedaru Omni is designed to be a place that you can bring all this different information together, can work with it, can interact with it, and ultimately use it to drive better decisions, both operationally and capitally, and then also to really help manage work activities and all the sort of day-to-day tasks in there. So just explaining some of this a little bit, you'll see I'll just zoom in a little bit more so you can see a little bit more level of detail in here. But really simply, I can do things in here like I'm going to be able to click on a pipe and see information about that particular pipe. So I click on that pipe, here's the idea around that pipe, and I've got all this information available to me here. So I have a direct link here to my CCTV videos. So if you're collecting CCTV information, which almost everybody is, depending on the software you're using and how you're storing some of that, there's lots of different ways to have that integrated right within your Sedaru platform. So you've got access and can pull those CCTV videos up anytime you need. You notice here, one of the things that's tracked with every pipe in the system is whether or not they have flagged it as a hotspot, and then based on some of that, what is the frequency that's required in cleaning it, right? So the one that I've clicked on here is labeled not as a hotspot. It's looked to clean every year, et cetera. So this information in here is all pulling directly from an Esri database. So Sedaru, which is an Esri business partner, works really closely with Esri on the technology side, and you're able to take all that data and information and bring it right into Sedaru, work with it, interact with it. And then when Sedaru writes information or derives data or information, that's also getting stored in an Esri geodatabase as well too. And the nice part there is we can host all that information. You can host information. The architecture is pretty flexible, and there's a lot of different ways to tackle some of those pieces on your end. So you've got the ability, like I said, access pipe information. We can go in and click on a manhole, see information about a specific manhole. Same idea. I'm going to have all that different information. I'm going to have it available to me. I'm going to be able to easily look at it, see it. You also have within here flow arrows as well too. So really important for the GIS folks out there when you're thinking about how your sewer system's created and all those pieces. Having flow arrows showing flow direction in a gravity sewer system is really beneficial when you're trying to sort out problems and sort out information, and to have all those pieces there. So one of the principal things that you're going to end up doing in maintaining and managing your sewer system is pipe cleaning activities. And let me zoom out a little bit, and I'll show you on this system a little bit how some of those pieces are organized in here. And I'll go in. I'll shut some of the things off on this map a little bit at some points because we'll want to look at some things in more detail. But we'll let that full map kind of show up, and you can get an idea for some way some of the pieces in the system work here too. So one of the things that I like here from, and this is really important when we want to talk about managing our hot spots and ultimately reducing them, is what do you have set up for your cleaning schedules within your system, right? How do you have that organized? And this is one example that I kind of like, and there's a tile up here that's all devoted to different cleaning groups within the system. And so you see I've got cleaning group 1 that's in here. I've got another cleaning group that's cleaning group 2. And you see the map kind of updates as I do that. Cleaning group 3. If I come in here and click on any one of these, it's actually going to bring and highlight on the map for me all the pipes, all the pieces that are part of those individual cleaning groups. So that just zoomed into that. So in this particular system, they've got a dozen or so different cleaning groups that are systematically organized. Instead of trying to tackle all their cleaning metrics within the, sort of the entire system, they've got each thing organized into some different sewer sheds, and they've got the ability to track progress with any one of those particular items, and to be able to see exactly what's been done, see what hasn't been done in there. You also see this item in here, this tile in here for hotspots, right? And so hotspot pipes in this particular system are designated as ones that need a more frequent cleaning process in here. And so when I click on that hotspot pipes tile there, it's actually going to select for me on the map all my hotspot pipes. You see I've got 210. And let me do this. I'm just going to hit this little button here on the right, and that actually is going to clean up my map for me. So we're just going to be looking at our hotspot locations here. And so you see that's what these pipe icons that you see on the map here are showing me within my system here. What are all the areas that have been flagged as a hotspot? And so again, I can zoom right in. I can take a look at some of that. That, and just being able to kind of geographically look at and quickly identify all of those hotspots in the system is certainly a big piece of how do you manage those things effectively? How do you make sure they're getting cleaned effectively and are staying on top of them? What's also interesting here, this spot that we zoom in on here, you can probably already tell, what's a little different here. Why are some of these hotspots? And all of these purple locations in here are actually food service establishments, okay, within the city. And so let me, I'm going to go in here and let's take a look at one of these food places here, in this case, a brewing company. So I can click on that and I can see all the information, same idea, around that particular item. I also have a tile here, and I'll scroll to the right, that's showing me all of my information around fog inspections for my food service establishments, right? So in this case, there's 4 open fog tasks that haven't been completed in the last, that are open, that are kind of hanging out there. There's 990 that have been done in the past year. In the past 10 days, past 30 days, there's been 10. I've got a listing of everything that's in there as well too. And then I also am keeping track of how many of these food service establishment items are being updated and changed throughout the year. So when you're thinking about managing your fog program and using that and like sort of linking that to where you've got hotspots and all those problems, you need to make sure you've got a good process in place for how you're going to update information about food service establishments, right? Because that information tends to change rather routinely. The business, they go out of business, in business, and then certainly, in the times that we're dealing with today, you're going to see lots of change in there. And you're probably going to want to think about, as restaurants start opening back up and there's more things happening with them and their business gets busier, how are you going to start reevaluating your fog program and getting to all those pieces, right? So from my fog or from my hotspot pipes, I have that ability, and let's go back and we'll go back in and look at those. So I have the ability to manage cleaning right from within there as well too. So we'll go back and just select all these pipes, and I'll show you here how I can go ahead and I can select a bunch of items on here to work with. We'll filter out what we just want to look at here on the map. I'm getting a little bit of lag through the Zoom meeting, so if it's showing up a little bit slow for you, it looks like the Zoom meeting's moving a little slower than I'd like. But I can go ahead and I can select any of these individual locations, and I can assign cleaning activities to them that can be tracked. And then let's take a look on the. Let me go in and I'll show you on the phone what this looks like from a field perspective in here. And so let's let me just make this a little bit. We'll just put this on full screen, and let's just take a look at the phone here and talk about how that works for managing and collecting that hotspot information. And certainly, as you have questions, just let me know, and feel free to kind of put those questions into the interface, and we'll certainly get all of those answered as we go through here. So when I'm looking at the phone interface, and I'm doing this on the phone, I could be looking at this on the tablet, or I could be looking at it on a computer. It's really up to you. It's pretty flexible from a device side. I kind of like the phone. We have a newer phone interface that's really worked out well. In this case here, we've got a pretty simple phone interface that, and this can be configured in a lot of different ways, but I've got the ability to look at pipes. I've got the ability to look at manholes. As I touch on manholes, it brings me to that map in here, and I can come in and drill into a specific manhole. And so we'll touch on that and then look at that information right from here. And so I'm going to have whatever information is available to me around that manhole. I also have a full history of everything that's happened with that particular manhole, right? So you can kind of go back and see the history of it, see everything that's happened. So I can go back and let's look at the manhole inspection from 2018, right? Did we have a hydrogen sulfide issue? Is there, what's the overall condition of it? There weren't any pictures done then, but I can see that here. There was a roach spray done back in November of 2018. And here's the thing, and I'll go back into this. What's nice too is you see the form that's filled out here is really relatively simple, right? And so for a lot of these field collection activities, you can just deal with something that's a pretty simple form that has, and collect that information as easily as possible. And so I can have that information right on here for me. We'll go back to the map here. Let's look at what a pipe cleaning task might look like for one of those hotspots. So I can have something that's pre-assigned to me on the map and have those work orders show up right from here, or I can just right from the field go into an item. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to actually just select the pipe that's in my system and touch on that pipe. We'll see the information about that particular pipe, and then I can just want to do, right? And this is all really configurable by you. So you can decide what work order types you're going to have available for all of these cleaning pieces, and be able to kind of change and edit those things yourself. You also have the ability, notice in here a pipe edit form, right? So you have the ability so that if you want to enable your field staff to be able to update information about pipes and other pieces, you can do that. You can do that right from here. But we're going to choose line cleaning. And so I can come in and have my form available to me. Now this does a couple of nice things in here. One, I'll just come in and we'll fill out the date in here. And then I've got the ability in here too. You notice the length of mains automatically populated. So since we're using the GIS and we're pulling that information from there, we can pretty quickly, it's going to automatically calculate all that information. So then when you want to roll up your metrics of how many feet of main did I clean, et cetera, a lot of those things are done automatically for you. and that's really one of the power of the Sedaru platform too, from a field side of things. You leverage the GIS, you can automatically do calculations in there, and you can be able to not have your field staff do that and let that automatically show up in the database. I can go in, I can put my information in here. We can kind of list what frequency are we doing this on. Is this something that's more than just a routine? And again, this is all up to you. And now here's where you get, I think, into some really, important kind of things here, right? So you're looking at this line cleaning. What is it like? Is the pipe flowing full? Is it light, et cetera, right? And then we can come in and we can talk about what's in here in terms of grease. Now, what I like about this pick list, right, and these are the kind of things I think become important is, you'll see people put things like high, medium, low, or, and this gives a little more description to stuff. Because one of the things that you're going to want to try to do is make sure you have consistency with your staff in terms of how things are being completed, so that you can report on all those pieces pretty easily. So I can come in here, we'll say, there's medium amounts of grease that are in here. Was there roots, or what did I see? None. We'll say none. What did I have for grit and gravel in there? What did that look like? And part of this too is you can start doing calculations of how much grit, how much gravel am I removing from the system? So maybe that's in here. Action that's needed in here. Now this is where I really like. So from a field perspective, you can say, we just went ahead and we're going to need to add this to a hotspot. I have the full history available to me from there, and can come back in and say, I'm adding it to my hotspot list, right? If I wanted to right from here. And then now that can go to a manager for review, and somebody can take a look at that and see, is there other pieces that I need to do. I can put other kind of special notes in here. In terms of here, there is some different protocols they've gotten in place as well too that they want to track. So potential that we want to do something like that. And then a couple other pieces in here. Was it accessible? Was it obstructed? Was there an obstruction type? And then I can grab pictures of everything, obviously, right? So we'll go ahead and we'll grab a picture off the phone here. We'll snap a photo. So then that's going to become part of the record for that particular cleaning activity in there as well too. And then I've got additional kind of notes and other information that I can fill out with that particular line cleaning activity. And the key with all this is to make sure that it is extremely, extremely easy for the field staff. But because I'm capturing all of this different information in here, and I'm defining a really well thought out process for what to do in terms of how do I add it to my hotspots and some of those pieces in there. The other piece I'll show you here in the field application, let me go in and let's just look at a fog piece in here. And so let's go in and we'll find one of our food service establishments in here. We'll have to scroll around here and find one. And I don't remember off the top of my head. Oh, here we go. We got some purple ones here. So the other thing I can do in terms of just scrolling the map, I can use the little search icon in the upper right if I wanted to find one in here. I can type a name in here, but we're going to hit on one of these purple spots here. So I can come in here and I'll touch on one of our fog inspection spots, and then I can come in here and I can view the information around it, right? And so in this case, this is an elementary school that's within here, and I can come in, I can look at my history that's in here and see what basic information I have. But then I can go ahead and I can complete a new inspection as well too, right? So I've got the ability to come in here, do my fog form, do my edits right from within here. And I can come in and look at the fog form. And again, this is all customizable by you, and you can go in and fill out all the information related to that. And again, the key with the field piece here is you want it so that really any of your utility staff is going to be able to use it and work on the application. And so these forms try to keep everything as simple as possible. But one of the things I like is if you're out in the field and you're trying to troubleshoot an issue with a particular pipe, and you're trying to understand, okay, where could we have problems with buildup of grease and some of these pieces, and I'm looking at a pipe and I can understand, like you see here, I'll let the phone catch up, you know, this pipe on Vanderdrip Avenue here, I can see which way it's flowing, I can see what's upstream, and I then have the ability to kind of drill in and look at what's going on with the food service establishments that are right in that area there. So that collection of data from the field is really important to being able to do as much as possible or being able to collect that so that you have that data to be able to look at things back in the field. And let me go back in here to the move the phone out of the way here. And so then you've got the ability here also, and let me see, we can do a time check. So we're running close to out of time here a little bit. It's a good time to ask questions. So if you've got questions about specific things, now's a good time to kind of fire those in here. And I want to show you a couple other things in this Omni application here. But I wanted to kind of clean up this map a little bit for us also. Get rid of some of the icons on here because it's awful crowded at the moment. All right, let me check our questions in here. Yeah, so one of the questions was, do we have like a demo site where you can kind of register and check out the software more? We don't have a demo site that's open to the public, but everybody that's attending the webinar today, you are going to get a follow-up email that's going to have information about how you can look at the recording of this webinar, along with all the other webinars we've been doing. And we're happy to set up a custom demonstration for you as well, too, and for your team, and to talk about your specific issues, your specific problems in there as well too, and give you some different ideas and methodologies for a way to do that. Yeah, so like I said, we're happy to certainly set up a custom demo for folks and to work with to do that for more. So. Well, good. I hope this gives you a little bit of an idea on some additional things you can do on the sewer side. One of the things that I did want to mention in here, maybe we'll have to hit it on a future webinar, maybe we'll touch on it on Thursday, but you see this one tile that's in here that says hotspots not cleaned within frequency, right? So one of the things that I like to do is to be able to look at pipes that haven't been cleaned as often as they should. And then when you do the cleaning activities, be able to look at, okay, how much grease, how much pieces do I have in there, and then look for ways to actually take them off your hotspot list. And that's a pretty good common way that when you're tracking all this information, well, you're going to be able to do that. Let's see, any other questions? So a question in terms of cost of the software. So the cost varies, obviously, and it really depends on how many users you're going to have in the system. So the Sedaru software is a yearly subscription fee, and that yearly subscription is going to vary based off of those number of users and then which other applications you have. So we're looking at Omni, which is in the background, and then the phone device here, which is what's called Field Force. And so there's licensing fees associated with those. And then on the webinar on Thursday, we're going to talk about Sedaru CIP, which also has licensing fees associated with that. Well, good. Thanks, everybody, for taking a few minutes to learn more about Sedaru and how it works with your collection system. And then, like I said, sign up for Thursday's webinar, and we'll kind of keep continuing this conversation, but talk a little bit more on the capital planning side as opposed to the operational side. Thanks everybody for your time, and we will talk to you again soon.